Okay, well, hey, thanks for being here today. So yesterday was a little bit of a talk. Today I'm thinking more like a conversation. I was asked to do a generative workshop, so I'm going to ask you to do a little bit of writing today. So if any luck you have something to write with, and a phone will do as well. And I think maybe we've got some materials here we can share. I know that there is a booth down the hallway that has some notebooks and so forth. So we can, before we do that, we can maybe run out and grab one of those, like these guys right here, Archwalk. So, yeah, we have someone's going to go get some for us. Yes, okay. Look at that. That's what I like about this group here. And I just got some haiku. Jen actually started an assignment. She gave me an assignment, and then she got other people's doing this assignment. Writing a haiku about serving those who serve. And so maybe I'll start out by reading and sharing these with you right now. Jen, where's yours? Oh, here we go. I do have yours. That's great pocket. So we're, I don't know if we're going to write that today, but I'm just going to share you some of the haiku that have been coming in. Do you all know haiku? You know that form? Remember that? You wrote it in third grade. You wrote haiku. It's a form that comes out of Japanese culture. Shannon earlier mentioned the concept of ikigai, which is another beautiful concept out of Japanese culture. When this, I encourage you. She sent you to look up Frankel's "The Man's Search for Meaning," which looks like a beautiful collection. And I would suggest that at some point you look into ikigai as well. And it's this place where your purpose and your skills and your place, and there's all these like a Venn diagram, all these bubbles sort of, they intersect, and you're living in that place. And actually it's interesting, I just became aware of that term because as I started Laureate here, started May 1st, doing this Laureate stuff, a friend of mine from Japan, shared it with me. She said, I think this is what you're doing. This is where you are right now. So check it out. I think it's a good place to be, ikigai. So let me read some of these haiku for you to get us started. These are some of your haiku, some of your words. And haiku is as I said, it derives from Japan many centuries ago, thousands of years ago. And in Japanese is a different language than English, thank goodness, because there's beauty in that difference. And so they don't quite use a syllabic form like we do when they compose haiku. The haiku comes from a ritual called ramen, where you write these very short, highly imagistic poems, and then take a shot of sake and pass it on, and then write in response to the next one, and there's this sort of chain of. Actually, maybe that's what we should have done. Anybody have any sake? Okay. So So that's where haiku comes from. That ritual of Ranka. They didn't subscribe to the Latin count that we do in English. We're just trying to approximate the form that they use in their pictorial language, right? Their graphic language. But we tend to use this. We tend to, when we write a haiku, we write it in 3 lines. First line is 5 syllables, second line 7, and then 5 syllables. So let's see how these people did here. Let's start out with Jen's, because I know Jen is here. Let's count her syllables and listen. Educating me, actually I don't know, educating me, bugler, shares, taps, and medleys, heartfelt poetry. Three syllables. And sometimes when I'm working with students, it's hard for them to hear the syllables sometimes. Then that's when we can go back to elementary school and sort of clap them out, or put your fingers on your chin and to decipher those syllables. But Jen's haiku: educating me, bugler shares taps and medleys, heartfelt poetry. Thank you, Jen. Is it Damien? Is Damien here? Okay, I'm going to read Damien's haiku. With strength of service I stand, men in arms gather, duty, honor, understand. Say that one again. With strength of service I stand, men in arms gather, duty, honor, understand. Here's another one. Anonymous. Veterans, sharing's real, rhythmic drumming, strumming beats, authentically healed. Veterans sharing is real, rhythmic drumming, strumming beats, authentically healed. Oh, you got some snaps there? Okay, yeah, that goes back. So, Lance is doing a little snap here. Anybody know where that comes from?
Beatnik, exactly.
The Beatnik, yeah. Ginsberg, Kerouac, and those folks who, I would say that, yeah, from the 50s, counterculture. People who were looking at what life was supposed to be like then and saying, I think there's more to that. I mean, actually, it has a lot to do with what Shannon was just talking to us about in terms of purpose and that kind of spiritual side of living and being, because they were seeing such a materialistic culture before them, as a reaction to that. So, but part of their response to that quote, instead of clapping, they would snap. So, yeah, counterculture. Thank you, Lance. There's another. Washingtonians benevolently serving patriotically. Thank you. There's someone here who. Here we go. John S., are you here? Yakima, good times. Helping veterans, good times. What I'm meant to do. Mission purpose. and someone's having fun too. There's some good times being had here. That's good. And then I just wrote mine this morning, and was happy to have this assignment. Thank you, Jen. It's called A True Haiku. Songs, flags, and faces. All the grit, all the purpose. Serving those who serve. Songs, flags, and faces. All the grit, all the purpose. Serving those who serve. Okay. Oh, Jasper. Jasper! Yay! We got one from Jasper. The daytime heat shines as brown-hilled shadows lengthen. Evening dusk deepens. So, and that one really goes back to the spirit of haiku, the tradition of haiku, which is a highly imagistic poem, often focused on recreating a natural image. So when I thought about what to do today for a generative workshop, I thought about bringing my friend Jim Bodine into the workshop and to share some of his work. Yesterday, he's 80 years old. He just turned 80. He's a longtime Yakima poet, and I knew that he was a veteran. He was one who served, and I knew that he had served in Vietnam and Panama, and I asked him to be here today and share some of his work, and he, in his quiet way, quietly deferred. So that's when I recruited Lance. But I wanted to do that, to bring someone else along for the ride. That said, I did take the title of today's exercise from Jim. This is a little broadside, a poetry broadside he made called Praise. Take a bullet, make a song. Take a bullet, make a song. And once again, I'm thinking about Shannon's talk, and I think that's just fascinating. The flipping Maslow's hierarchy of needs on its head, and which provides that example of Frankel in the concentration camps. Yeah, oh yeah, of course, they didn't have any of that. And yet they transcended themselves. Another example is Osip Mandelstam, who also served time in a concentration camp, and were somehow amazingly able to actualize themselves. And that's what Jim did too. I know that his Vietnam service was very intense, and it was something that he wrote about a lot in his poems, working through that. Took a bullet and made some songs. So let's take a look at Lance's poem that he read yesterday for us.
Can you make that bigger, please? Sorry.
Yeah, I can try. This is where I may need tech help. How do I, oh, hold on. Maybe I can do this, shift? No, shift plus doesn't do it. Oh, command plus? Let's try that. Ah! Okay, that did it, thank you. Is that better?
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, so this is from Lance's book, In Cadence. Or no, it's published in Cadence.
The chapbook was in Cadence.
Chapbook, yeah. Hold on, I did something. Ah. Oh no.
There.
So I want to read it for you again and just have us, want to ask you, what do you notice about the form of the poem? What do you hear? What do you see going on in the poem? Anything at all? How this thing is made? Goodbye, my desert. There's some sweetness in a parting and happiness in farewells. There's relief in heavy luggage and the thrill of a new air smell. And it's goodbye, cantering morning birds. Goodbye, pretty veiled eyes. Goodbye, loved children and old dirt roads. Goodbye, my desert, goodbye. There are sorrows in the losing and pains when out of sight, like friends who are never seen again, or the loss of a springtime light. So goodbye, old men in flowing robes. Goodbye, sad seas and sky. Goodbye, fast friends and enemies. Goodbye, my desert. Goodbye. Okay. So what do you see? What do you hear? Yes, sir.
Along with the reader's cadence, he created a visual structure that's relatively consistent throughout the entire thing. Visually, if you look at it logically.
Yeah. So this visual structure that we can all see, and it's kind of pleasurable to us because we are creatures who like patterns. And you can see this poem is in 4-line stanzas, or we call them quatrains. Stanza, in poetry we talk about stanzas instead of paragraphs, but they're fairly analogous. Stanza is an Italian word that means a little room. So these are some little rooms, these lines living in these little rooms, 4-line stanzas, or alternately known as quatrains. And it does place this poem, its line length and the regularity of the stanzas, within a more formal kind of traditional poetry. This is someone who's aware of the tradition of poetry and who's writing out of it. Okay, thank you for that. What else do you see, or what do you hear? Anything, anybody? Yeah.
I hear a story of a deployment, desert deployment, and what you've lost and what you've gained.
You hear a story of a desert deployment and what you've lost and what you've gained. I'm so glad you said that, because this is not a narrative poem. It isn't a narrative. It doesn't. And so many of our writings that we read and that we make are narratives. And yet, it isn't the only way to tell a story, as you just pointed out. This is a lyric poem. This is how we would classify this in realm of poetry. It's a lyric poem. It's a cry of an individual voice. It's one person's experience, and that's what we mean when we say a lyric poem. But somehow, in these lines, in these images, in these sounds, a story kind of emerges, which is kind of magical. Yeah.
These types are kind of my favorite poems because the lyric poem is very accurate, but if it's reading, it almost feels like you're remembering something that you weren't here. It's creating a picture, but it's not, I went here with this. It's just letting me do that. And I think that's what people look like.
You said he's creating a picture.
Yeah, but it's like he's letting you remember something that you weren't there for.
Yeah. He's letting you remember, this is your memory of something you weren't there for. Ah, yeah. The poem is delivering an experience. That's right. And that's why we need that good concrete language. We heard a lot of it, that concrete language in Shannon's talk earlier as she described the Apache helicopter, even got the dimensions of the helicopter. And I loved the description of they were all crouching there like praying mantises, right? That speaks to the mind's eye. It delivers an experience. It's not just telling us like, oh wow, I felt like a stranger in a strange land, man. I mean, it puts us in her boots and lets us feel maybe like she did. So yeah, that's great. There was a hand back here, Rick.
Yeah. So I appreciate this work, and I think it's the poem that was read yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah. So seeing the words here gives me a better appreciation. To me, this really resonates, and I forget how many months I had in the desert, but the images and the visualization. But what I wanted to partake on the audience really is, I think this is the author's attempt at closure, not only with those neutral forces, but the friendlies and the enemies as well. And I really enjoy this as well.
Closure. Yeah. Thank you. And you actually have some life that resonates, your own desert experience that resonates with this.
Yeah, I wish I could have read this a long time ago.
Yeah. Thank you. Others, what do you see? What do you hear here? Yes, sir.
It's very imagistic and engages the other senses as well. There's a lot of sight and new air smell and relief in heavy luggage and talking muscles.
I like it feels like a paradox at first when I read that line, the relief in heavy luggage. Normally we think of like, oh, what a burden this is, but it's kind of interesting.
Looking forward to the next thing, right?
Yeah, the palpable weight of the next thing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, any of us that served at any time in the independence and things, you know what it was like to pack your gear before you left. And then you know what it was like to pack your gear when you get ready to go back home.
Big up 100-pound sea bags to go home. That temporary discomfort is a ticket to West Point.
Yeah. Yeah. So very imagistic and not just, as you point out, not just visual imagery, but other senses are engaged. And it's that, like those, I can see those flowing robes, those pretty veiled eyes. Whoa, it's bringing it to life. And as you said, it's letting us remember something that happened to us. It's kind of amazing. Yes.
This reminds me of the feelings that I personally had that was surprising at the stages of grief upon leaving that I didn't know I would have leaving a war zone. And the fact that I would actually miss the things that actually were either scary or dangerous, but were endeared to me through a different experience. And so I can definitely read the stages of grief, surprising yourself that you missed that.
That makes me think about Shannon's point earlier about when you leave service and you feel there could be this feeling like, oh my God, where'd my purpose go? And here you were in this place, and part of it being in that place was you had a very clear purpose, and that was involved in that place, and now, yeah, and you kind of missed that, yeah, thank you. Yes, sir.
One line that sticks with me is goodbye, fast friends and enemies. It's like a juxtaposition of friends and enemies, and it's just like about rancor is just kind of put in there.
Yeah, right, without rancor. Goodbye, fast friends and enemies. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, there's not enough to do it. Yeah.
The last line of goodbye, like the goodbye, means that he's also taken his blame of the place that caused him pain where he probably lost him. But it's still his death. It's his experience.
Yeah.
Goodbye to the-
My desert. No, it's not your desert. This is my desert now. And that one little word, that possessive pronoun, that is taking ownership here. And how is it? It's what he gave. It's the time he served. And this is what it feels like. It feels like his desert. Yeah. And he doesn't need to ask anybody else's permission because it's his poem. And you do what you want to do in your poem. And if it feels that way, if it feels right, then it is right. Okay. Yeah.
So on the veiled eyes and the flowing robes, he's expressing culture.
Yes.
In the desert.
Yes. And so subtly done. Just little bit of understatement. The flowing robes, veiled eyes, it's culture, and it's place, culture and place, right? Again, showing it. There's an old axiom in writing. You say, show it, don't tell it. Show me, don't tell me. Don't tell me the moon is shining. Show me the light on the broken glass. And that's what Lance is doing. He's showing us. Yeah.
It's gonna sound maybe complex.
No, there's no doubt.
There's different dimensions of it. I can read each line will give me a different memory about something.
Yeah.
And each one I can read, it'll give me a different thought or a different thing. And then we read the whole thing, it takes me to like that one home or so it's like, there's a few different ways that I can read it. I don't know, I probably struggle with the transcend, it's made me like taking me somewhere else. In my imagination, I don't know what it is, but so it's kind of transcendent.
It's kind of what?
It transcended. It takes me from here to there.
Transcendent, yeah.
So
And you're getting a sense of, I think, if I understand you correctly, you're saying a little bit of what you said earlier, which was you got a story out of this poem. So you're getting the sense of the rival and the sense of departure.
there's like 16 different stories.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's kind of the magic of poetry. That's how it happens. Because it's so spare, it's so distilled, it leaves room for our imagination, and that's what separates poetry from other literary art forms, which can be more spelled out. The world is more created for us. In poetry, we need to bring more of ourselves to make the poem work. We have to be open to the poem. And word, art. Yeah.
I would say past having the reader figure it out. If you can create intrigue, so the person wants to figure it out. Talking about as you're reading. It's one of the most effective ways the person engages in what you put on.
Yeah.
You can describe something and let them figure it out as they go, or you can create a situation where they want to figure it out because there's interest.
That's right. So imagery, essential, so important. Anybody notice the word goodbye at all? You notice that? Okay, good. So then it's so funny. you know, it's interesting to me because I think especially nowadays we look at poetry as an intellectual activity, and we're looking at this and thinking about it in these terms. But underpinning that, and another characteristic of poetry, is that it's a special kind of singing. And what's that?
Because if you read it right, it has a nice like sing-songy rhythm to it.
Yeah. Yeah. How many times do we get the word goodbye? I don't know the number, but it's a lot, right? And where is it mostly appearing? At the beginning of the lines, right? Okay. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. And somehow and I think that because, so repetition is an essential part of poetry, especially since 1860, when Walt Whitman burst through the doors and, you know, broke them off their hinges and said, "Yeah, we're not gonna write in meter and rhyme anymore." And so we started writing what we call organic verse, open form, free verse, all these things. Instead of saying, okay, I'm going to write a sonnet, it's going to have 14 lines, it's going to be an iambic pentameter, and there's going to be a shift in meaning at the fulcrum between the octet and the sestet. You're like, what did you just say? You know, no. Yeah, so instead of taking on these received forms, instead of falling in line, we're we're gonna engage in this reciprocal creation, and that as we enter the language, that it's gonna find its own form, it's gonna find its own way. And it's not that it's formless or patternless, it's just that the form isn't given to us, it's not preordained. It's kind of more exciting that way, because every time you're writing an organic verse, you're something new is coming into the world that didn't exist before. I guess you could say that too for a sonnet or a pantoum or a sestina, you know, because the words are all different. But also the form is new, and so repetition is more important since 1860, since the time of the Civil War, when poetry started to evolve, thanks to Walt Whitman and others. Emily Dickinson also really pushed it, and so this initial repetition here, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Does anybody know the poetic term for that? Poetic, rhetorical. We hear it a lot. So in some of the most beautiful, central passages that in our culture, in our American culture, in our species. MLK Jr.'s dream speech. Oh my gosh. It's not a speech, it's a poem. I have a dream. I have a dream. I have a dream. And as every time he says that, we don't get tired of the repetition, because I think in part because it's that special kind of song. It's just like we don't get tired of the repetition in a pop song. Ooh, baby, I love your way, right? Okay. It's like, oh yeah, no, let me hear it again. So it's appealing to that place where music goes in us, which is mysterious. Thank goodness. We will never find the answer to that. We will never know why music moves us so much. I hope we don't know. I hope we never figure it out, that there's like, gene number 4.78, no, thank you. No, it's that, but also it's because there's new imagery and sounds that come after that. I have a dream that My 4 little children, one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. You can hear the poetry and the C sounds there too. We call that alliteration, content of their character. The reason why this brilliant poem sticks in us is because, in large part, that the sound of the words are as important, if not more important, than the meaning of the words. It sings into us. You know how a song goes straight in here. Well, that's amazing. It's a little harder for poetry because we don't have the guitar, we don't have the melody so much, and we have to slip past that frontal lobe to get down here and to really move people. So that's so. But yeah, this is did I say the word yet? Anathema is the term. Is that what you're going to say? Okay, he had it. Let the record show he had it. Shiloh.
Is it, so with the vivid imagery, the repetition, and the theme, is it also a poem or a lyrical poem because it's a collection of individual thoughts? Any one of those sentences makes sense on its own. So I was just wondering.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. So poems can be a little more disjointed, and you don't have to have like if you're in English 101, you're going to say, oh man, you got to have a transitional phrase or sentence between those 2 paragraphs. Or I'm going to mark your down. Okay. No. So it's more. Yeah, it is. It's holding it loosely. The poems. Like how you hold thimbleberries. We have thimbleberries around. If you ever pick thimbleberries, you can't hold them too tightly or they'll just go to mush. You gotta hold them loosely. Or a collection of flowers. So yeah, disjointed, independent thoughts. But it's the music. And a lot of what's going on in poetry today there's some like really intense ideas and emotions that are coming out, but a lot of times the language remains prose because the ideas overwhelm the heart. And what happens in Lance's poem, in MLK Jr.'s poem, is there's some ideas in there too, but the sound and the sense are one. And when that happens, something really special happens.
Could you spell anaphora, please?
Oh yeah, right there.
Thank you.
Anaphora
Yeah.
and anaphora, yeah. And we also hear it in most people are like, oh yeah, I don't really read poetry, man. So when I pick up something to read, I don't really go to poetry. I don't do much with poetry. Well, actually, it's everywhere. It's in those songs that we listen to all the time. It's in every major religion at its core. There's the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the Bible, and so forth. There's poetry. That's why we have a poet laureate, I think. We don't have a fantasy fiction poet laureate. I wish we did. That would be great. I would love that. But yeah, poetry is this kind of special thing, and so this is an anaphora at work here too in a passage from the Bible, Matthew. Yeah.
Would you call Gettysburg Address also?
Oh yeah. 407 years ago, our fathers set forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition of all men are created equal. Oh yes. I also think about Chief Joseph's heartbreaking speech, his surrender, just short of I think the Canadian border. They were just short of like 30 miles or something like that. And Chief Joseph said, "Where the sun now stands, I will find it." Oh God! Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's a poem. Yeah.
Also like Churchill's speech, we need to do a fight on it.
Yeah. Churchill, right. Yep. So listen, that's enough about that stuff. I want to give, let's see, I want to ask Lance a little bit here. I do want to have you do some writing on your own, but before we get there, Lance, I want to give you a chance. Would you come up here and talk to these fine folks and just say a little bit about, if you can remember, your process of making this poem, what started it, how many drafts did you go through it, anything like that? Yeah,
Sure will.
Okay.
Hi everyone, my name's Lance, and I'll start off by saying if the poet didn't suck so much, he was actually trying to be more formal like he was talking about, but he couldn't get his syllables right, and so he ended up with this. And so let me tell you a little bit about the story about this. So the setting was actually a non-combat deployment to Saudi Arabia. I spent a year there, and it was very emotionally significant. Jasper, can you raise your hand for just a second? So you have mentioned to me on several occasions, you're good. One of the hardest memories that you have as a kid is when I came back on mid-tour leave. My wife is a mother, and had just been diagnosed with cancer. I come back on sick leave, and I had to go back because my time was up. And so it was a really hard time for him. I remember something he said to me on the way to the airport: "Can't you just hide and stay here?" And I had to like, oh my God, wow, I can answer that. And so then I went back for 6 more months in Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia wasn't all bad. There was a lot of great things. So one of the things that you'll see referenced here, we'll do this. So love children, for instance. So it was a non-combat deployment. I was a Sunday school teacher over there. So it was a little risky. Christianity is outlawed in that country, so I was taking a bit of a risk, but it worked out okay. And so I was thinking of my Sunday school kids as I wrote that. And so I was overcome with all of these emotions. On the one hand, I couldn't wait to get back home, and on the other hand, strangely, every place I've ever lived, I think probably a lot like everybody here is deployed ever. Please raise your hand. So you probably had memories of like, there's something you probably loved there, right? Can you share one thing that you maybe loved or will remember out of your deployment?
You don't really want to at first, but you do meet a local and do have a little bit of a connection.
Yeah.
Watch out for each other.
And-
Not much, but just enough. So,
And clearly you carry that with you to this day, right? Anybody else have an experience like that?
Was it years?
Oh, it's
Where I fell in love with sunrises.
Yeah.
There's a physiological aspect of being freezing through the night with nothing but my sleeping bag in the truck and waiting for that sun to come down to warm my body. As long as I got to see the sunrise that next morning.
Yeah, that little wink, the divine every morning, would really makes a difference when you're in those positions. So, whoever mentioned that it was like 16 different images, yes, that's exactly what we're going for. Now, if I didn't suck so bad, so I was trying to like imitate the verse, chorus, and if I was a better poet, I'd come up with something more ingenious than that. But I didn't, so I worked with this, and so yes, I did do 16 different lines. And what I tried to do, and somebody caught on to it down here with Fast Friends and Enemies a couple of different times, and Professor Sheffield caught on to it with here. So one of the coolest things I always thought about poetry, and I do linguistics for my academic stuff. And so a very smart professor named Daniel Altshuler over at Oxford, he said, what makes art is something called underspecification. You can have any word anywhere, and it can mean more than one thing at one time, and you don't know which. So, all the different words you can come up with this. And all those things connecting in your brain is what gives you that beauty that comes out of it. Like, man, that's really cool. So the idea behind this here was the juxtaposition of, yeah, it really sucks to carry this heavy bag, but it means I'm going home. And another idea behind that down here. So the double meaning of fast. Anybody want to give me, the several meanings of fast that could possibly mean? What's the first one everybody thinks of? What? Oh, yeah, didn't think of that one. So I'm not that clever. So what's another one of mine? You're more clever than me. Speedy, yes, and also close, so you were fast friends. So it's it's kind of an amalgamation of thoughts in your head between, I made these people quickly because it's a quick deployment, and we were very close, and the enemies were also quickly made and very close to you. And that's kind of the thought behind it. Yes?
I was wondering when you sat down to write this, you had structure, length, and theme in mind, or did you sit down, put it on paper, and then just try to start?
So I started with a feeling. Each of these are images and real things that I live. But I did try to put it into a structure of, as Laureate was mentioning. So the structure is verse, chorus, and the parallelism is four lines per stanza, and then the rhyme scheme was this rhymes with that rhymes with this, that, and you can judge for yourself if you like rhyme or don't like rhyme. The older you get, the less I like rhyme. Yes?
You also have math and
Oh, that was actually what I was trying to weed out, but I'm glad somebody likes it.
No, I'm just saying, I see math and poetry, and the wave of that also this calendar.
And so let's talk a little bit about math and an idea that comes actually from Professor Sheffield was mentioning the Bible. And so I'll read briefly out of Song of Solomon, if anybody knows. And one of the things that we were trying to imitate here goes a little bit back to that, in the idea of symmetry, mathematical symmetry, and repetition. So Song of Solomon 1, from a woman speaking to a lover. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is more delightful than wine. So there's in ancient Hebrew poetry, they didn't rhyme, they didn't have a syllable count. They had a repetition of thought. So the thought here is mouth, kisses of mouth, and wine, which is tasted from the mouth. Pleasing is the fragrance of your perfumes. Your name is like perfume poured out. That idea, repeated idea of smell coming back.
And in his comfort.
Yes, yeah. No wonder the young women love you. Take me away with you. Let us hurry. Let the king bring me to his chambers. So, particularly those last two lines, take me away with you, bring me. That image of going from where you are to where you want to be. So that's that idea of repetition that we were trying to put in here in deliberate imitation of previous poets, much better poets than me, who were going around and bringing that parallelism back into normal life.
When take me away is descriptive and shows a specific image that's different than let's run away home or something like that. Take me away is kind of like you design.
Yeah, and it's just, and the unity of that, joining. So thoughts about poetry. Do
you ever think that the structure that you have in mind interrupts the creative part, or do you have a creative part?
I don't think so. I think it's a tool. Is it a pain sometimes to put things into order and into form? Sure. But then again, there's a comfort in that as well, of also giving you a bounds and a left and right to stay within, and that gives you a structure and a limit. And I have plenty of poems that fail because of that, because of not being able to read anything coherent out of something.
There's some nice lines in that particular poem there, where you take your unique experience being in the desert, like meeting people, and then there's the broader human experience of what dawn feels like, singing of the birds in the morning, and that sort of thing. So there's a nice little drawing that somebody who maybe wasn't even experiencing that.
Thanks for noticing that. And that was so there's a concept of parallelism, and if I can steal Professor Sheffield's work here for just a second, I'll talk about that as well. But one of the parallelisms that I'm going to draw here, and one of the parallelisms I was trying to draw in the poem that I wrote, was between our two lives, where those are real experiences that I lived, but I've shaved them down so that hopefully, people I've never met before, you can in a way reflect your experience as well. Yes?
Obviously the setting is desert, but I noticed that it kind of stuck out was you mentioned sad seas. So what was the intention of mentioning sad seas when you were in the desert there?
Well, the real life story behind that is I was in Saudi Arabia in a place called Sheffield, which is about as high up as Denver there. So the sad skies were because there were never clouds. It rained twice a year, and frankly, I got really sick of the blue skies. And then I went down to, and I'm from Central Washington. And then we went down, I learned to dive down there, and I remember diving in the Red Sea, and it is somehow evokes a great sadness. It's one of the saltiest bodies of water other than the Dead Sea. And there's just a great melancholy when you're doing something as fun as diving. Yes?
Diving in the Red Sea brings about melancholy?
It did for me, but then again, the emotional circumstances was, well, on the happy side, I had time enough to learn how to dive. On the unhappy side, I had a young son back home, had a family, and really wished I was back there. So there's those two things put together. And so the idea, if I could spend just 2 minutes on parallelism, so what Martin Luther King drew, so we have anaphora here, so the repetition of I have a dream, I have a dream, I have a dream. And there's also this parallelism of bringing up these ideas of place, children, place, and then back to children. And then in an interesting kind of juxtaposition of place, children, we get a vision of a future place, and we get a vision of those children grown up, not only physically, but more morally, spiritually, into the. Can we get one person to read that and highlight the lines, please?
I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain will be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked place will be made straight. The glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together.
So we have so there's several repeated themes in the preceding stanzas, and those look a lot like hate, they look like division, they look like denigration, and they look like fighting at the personal level, the political level, the spiritual level. And so, can anybody say where the parallelism breaks between all of those images? And well, how does it break for you? Does that work for you?
In the closing, he stops talking about individuals and places, so there's a unifying idea, because he's not calling out a single part of it he's talking about. And then he uses vivid imagery about elevating to what we could be, instead of what I am versus what you are. Then when they put himself over the reader, this is my goal overall.
So, in a way, without necessarily ever talking about physical travel, he takes us on a journey from the place where we are now, where we were back in the 50s, and into a brand new place, and points out the place that we're going to go, where we can go. And there is a journey without any journey. I think I'd never actually seen the entire speech written out, and it was obviously lyrical, it was obviously poetic, but I did not grasp it until now I really see that. Any other thoughts on Elor's program?
The final line being is that it's almost unifying and allows everyone to see themselves in it, whereas the first sentences, you could have the negative people being like, that doesn't apply to me. It doesn't apply to me. When it does, but they're too blind to see it. But this is that, the shining light. It's the unification factor.
The journey from individuals to a unity. Yeah, well, that too. I'll stick around and answer any questions if you have any, but I'm ready to give the floor back anytime.
Okay, so now it's your turn. And I have a prompt for you. And that is, I'm seeing that many of you were deployed and many of you had your own experiences and had your own goodbyes. And I would invite you to write your own goodbye and to take that pattern, that song, goodbye, 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 and make it your own. I've heard this is where I fell in love with sunrise. Oh, yeah, and that image of that bright disc slipping up through the sands, that's a line in the poem. You felt there was some kind of connection there with the people. How did that come through? Was it in their eyes, their voices? What was that? But that was something that was part of that place for you. So I want to give you some time now, say 10, 12 minutes to just invite you to write your own goodbye poem, a list using the music that Lance has given us. Alternately, if you want to flip it on its head and you want to say hello, you want to go back to what it was like when you first stepped out on the tarmac, walking up to those Apache, hello, praying mantises, if you want to do that, you can do that as well. But we've got a structure, and I'm asking you to pour some of your life into it. And you don't even have to think about it so much as a poem. You can write in lines, or you can write it in a paragraph, whatever feels natural to you. Any questions about that? Engage. Okay. What I'd like you to do now is please turn to a partner here, someone you're sitting by, and read your goodbye, share what you've written. And as a listener, maybe listen for that anaphora, listen for those images, and say what you know. Okay, so, 2 or 3, yeah, two groups of 2 or 3. So just find someone near you if you can.
Did you do one?
I'll listen to yours. I didn't serve, so that's okay. I'll read it after.
You want to listen? Sure.
I was just reading it. Yeah.
So what does this remind you of? What was you thinking about this? Give me a feel for this.
It's a deployment. So after I go, I love going to everything that I hope here is good. I'm going to a place I don't know. Going to somewhere that I'm not sure about. I really don't understand. I'm going there.
Can you read it again?
Let's go to the let's say
I didn't get. I probably should have listened better the first time. I won't mark in the right spot. I don't do this the whole time. Just do this stuff. Mercury drop. I think it's a good exercise. Great. I'm not a big fan of Sam. So it's just the bottom one. First drop. Just recognize the poetry and all of his English speeches. I appreciate you reading it twice and explaining where you were coming from. I totally see it.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a lot easier to just read
I'm not it's just something else. Because I one thing I did
I mean, I didn't know this was a non-combat one. To me, it read like a combat. One of the things that I tell people when they ask me about my deployments is I tell them the kids are kids. Innocent, not all the time. You don't necessarily take that role. Enduring with your eyes when you're seeing with the soul. You see these little kids, they're the same every time you see, no matter where you get, they have veiled eyes, tell people to make connections to where we go, so you gotta say goodbye to those friends, those connections, but you also have to, you gotta say goodbye to the enemy. Populations, like described as
That's just.
yes. So do you want me to tell you the background first, or should I tell you the background?
Yeah, whatever I feel comfortable with.
So my deployment experience was a little less positive. I remember partnering with the Italian XO. When I left, I didn't think he was going to be alive. I found out because I mistakenly friended him on Facebook. He did survive. He was actually doing pretty well. I think he went
Second 6 months before a year or so. So I'm trying to describe that, but I'm sitting so the root cause I got just started on the other side.
So the ceremony's over, and now it's time to go. Handshakes, some simple pleasantries, bond, shared and broken. Short. The ceremony is the transition. Usually getting on the plane. You know, if you're in that ceremony, you're usually the last chop to leave. You do all the pleasantries with the handshakes. You're fixing it. You do make some bonds, but you make a lot of them already broken before you get I was gonna end with starting a cycle again, because I was at 2 points at Fort Gale. It was just a churn. It was a churn. You know, you go, you come back, take a little time off, and then you go.
Serving for a living.
My experience was
There's nothing battle buddies.
So this is describing going back because
I didn't ever, I didn't serve military, I didn't deploy anywhere, so I do appreciate your service and yours is, because I do, I work with veterans, and I never realized, you know, all of the things that they go through. And that's in perspective. My quote is going to be a little different because it says, goodbye to my sleeping eyes, goodbye to the ones who changed the most, goodbye to the vision of myself laying in waiting, goodbye to the lost and searching. Now we will grow and rise and say goodbye one last time to the self we once were. I am. One of them's grown. The other two are still growing.
I thought I heard one. I wasn't sure if it was a snapshot of time when it was enlightened and maybe
I was thinking more of sleeping in a different sense, I guess. Yeah.
And I got that.
Maybe my sleeping eyes as a child and then, you know, opening them as an adult and seeing things in a different light than I once did. Yes, change.
in situations where I feel like I'm still part of the second one, when I got off the plane, I didn't want to.
Growing from that.
I tell you, I kind of dig this.
I don't, because that's all I am.
Yeah, that's good.
So I went to Moses.
It's eerie. It's ironic. So part of the benefits that are service members.
I thought if I was
Navy retired on Monday.
Monday. Yeah, he just came to my office and Jake was at their work house playing. West Town, you know, he's we're like, felt really thrilled that like, we were talking about that. It was kind of a special moment. You know, and then just like here, right?
So like, it's kind of like a journal that happens over there.
Okay.
It's a good way to get things out that you're not necessarily able to communicate in another way.
What's that? Yeah, so we're almost done, wrapping up.
Also-
Okay, I'm hearing from my people that we're being called for time. Don't like to end it, but I did get a few more haiku I want to share with you, Jen, which you started. Here's Brian's: poetry being read, purposeful living, healing, grit, service, and peace. And I like that life was crossed out and then peace. If you go back and look at Emily Dickinson's drafts, you'll see that when she was composing, she would often write a word above and underneath one of the other words. It was an alternate. Like it was either going to be merely or only when she went back to it and decided which one. You know, they mean similar things, merely or only, but have different flavors, right? So, thank you, Brian. Shiloh. Gathered in a room, so silent pain won't fester. No more fighting alone. Ooh. Gathered in a room, so silent pain won't fester. No more fighting alone. Thank you, Shiloh. Once I wore shined boots, and now I wear hiking boots. It's good to be home. Who was that? Hey! And lastly here, Martinez shared this one, which I think gives us a good note to end on. Walking path, leading to walking, pushing forward, turning right, pushing forward, switching path, pulling others, back, walking path. And the wordplay in that, the repetition is a little dizzying, which I just love, because it's everywhere is the path. And there's a little bit of haste to it, but it put me in mind of this passage from the great Spanish poet Antonio Machado, who said that, and I'll probably say some of these words wrong, but caminante no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Traveler, there is no path. The path is made by walking. Let's keep walking. Let's keep walking. Hey, thank you all for choosing to spend some time with me today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.